Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Out There with Kim podcast, where I go out there to find all the events, businesses, and people that make our Central Kentucky communities so unique. I'm your host, Kim Dixon. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, I have a real treat for my listeners. We are talking with Doug High and Lyssa High of ABC 36, two of my favorite anchors. They host the 9 a.m. show, the noon show, and the 3 o'clock, and I'm very lucky to get to have them here today at the digital studio of the Northside Library right here in Lexington, Kentucky. Doug, Lyssa, thank you so much for joining me today.
Kim,
thank you, Kim.
Thank you for having us. Oh, I love seeing you, too. It's so good to see you. You
been
look
a long
great.
time.
It's been too long.
You look fantastic.
Well,
look at
thank
you, girl.
I'm trying to be all fancy now.
Oh.
So those of you who don't know, Lyssa and Doug and I all used to work together at the station. Lyssa and I co-hosted, along with Sherelle Roberts and Susan Mills, a talk show called Let's Talk Kentucky.
Oh, I miss it, too.
I know. It was so much fun. We had the best time.
Yes.
It was a really unique product that we had for our listeners.
I agree.
So much fun. And then I worked with both of you on the 9 a.m. show, where I did something similar called Out There with Kim, where I would do something kind of like I'm doing now, only you can't see what I'm doing, so you don't know how, I'm in my jammies, guys. No, actually I'm not, but I mean, I could be and no one would know. But so these guys are two of my good, close friends, and I'm so excited to have them here today because Doug and Lyssa are very unique in our community and in news in general, because they are married. That's why they have the same last name, Doug High and Lyssa High. They are one of the, Doug, you knew the answer to this at one point. I believe that you two are the only married anchors in the state.
We are the only that are actually co-anchoring on the same desk during the same newscast.
Yes.
Now, there's some other folks that are married working in a TV station together, but they're on different programs.
I see.
So we're the only folks in Kentucky, the only married news anchors co-anchoring a program together in Kentucky.
Yes.
That is amazing.
And not many in the country, really. I did a little search on that a while back, and I found like 4 or 5, really, nationwide.
Yeah.
Wow.
Less than 10 couples.
Yeah, I would say so.
Were they in bigger markets than ours?
Some bigger, some smaller, but they were
Interesting.
They were around,
Well, that brings me to the question we have all been wondering. All of your viewers wonder, how do you do this as a married? I mean, there are so many things to consider when two people live in the same house, and you all are raising a family as well. How does that work? I mean, there's so many different things. Like, how do you make it work?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead. I'm curious to find out what you think, Lyssa.
Well, our kids are a little older now, so that has helped a little bit in the fact that, we have a freshman in high school and we have a 20-year-old that's at home right now, too. And, them being a little bit more self-sufficient has helped. But even when we first, I know, right? I said a little more self-sufficient. But, that helps. But, yeah, it's a lot of coordinating. And then there are times where I just have to take off from the show in order to take them to a doctor's appointment.
That's what I was wondering.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Doug is able to cover that.
So that's just generally one person has to cover.
That's
I
right.
remember we were all working on something where, Doug, you were sick and you were out for a week.
That's right.
And that made things really crazy. But
It did.
Lyssa was able to hold down the fort and make sure everything was okay.
Absolutely.
I guess that's the same way things work if there's an emergency or if one of you is sick.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. We
Yeah.
just have to be prepared to anchor solo at any given time. So
And it's tougher. I mean, you're carrying the weight of 2 journalists on one. You have to laugh at your own jokes. That's not fun, right?
Well, your jokes are pretty funny, Doug.
we
so
try.
it's
We
okay.
try.
It works.
But and you feel lonely. You just feel like you're kind of like, okay, I've got the
know.
meteorologist over there in the weather center, but I'm sitting on this desk by myself.
Right.
Now, I've spent years at the station, 15 plus years now, and there were huge swaths of time, like 6 months plus, where I was anchoring solo. So I think I'm a little more used to it than maybe you are, Lyssa, but I miss you.
Yeah,
when you're off the program. And it doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
I feel the same way. I mean, there's like little things. I'll try to my attempt at a joke, and and usually I can get a laugh out of Doug at least, to kind of support my ego. But when he's not there, I don't have it, and so
no one's laughing
nobody's
with you,
laughing.
and no one's giving that boost.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, that
Sad.
changes things how you even run things as a couple in your home, because if one of you is sick, the other person really, really shouldn't get sick. So that means you do things a little bit differently than some couples would when you find yourself at that kind of crossroads like that.
You know, and amazingly, I mean, we're married. You would think the same bug's going to be in our household and we're both going to get sick.
Yeah.
Amazingly, knock on wood, we have not gotten into that situation with our health at this point.
I've had COVID twice over the years, and Lyssa sends me straight to the basement. It's a nice basement. It's a finished basement, but I live down there for 2 weeks.
I throw food at him every once in a while.
But you've never gotten sick with it.
No, I haven't.
Somehow, some way, I've not.
What?
I know. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's good DNA on Lyssa's side. I think.
I'm with you, Doug. I've had the COVID twice, and that second round, I can't spell anymore.
Right. Oh, the second one was worse.
The second was much worse.
Wow.
So, it was, well, good for you, Lyssa.
Yeah.
You've got a really strong constitution, though. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, you're a very healthy person.
Well, you know, I don't like to lean on it too much, though. I do try to be safe as I can, you know.
Sure.
And, but yeah, we have not been sick at the same time, so we've been able to hold on to the show, you know, one of us.
Which would be rough. It'd be rough on the station because in this era of scaling back newsrooms, you know, if both of us are sick, that means someone has to come off the early morning news or the late evening news to cover our shifts. And that's not fun. Suddenly your coworkers and your friends are working 6 and 7 days because both of you are out. And that's not cool.
Right.
That puts a lot of pressure on people.
And it's not that we don't, there are days where we don't feel well, but we're not, you know, we're not running a fever. We're not, you know, sick. So we still go in, we still do it because we know how much weight that puts onto the other person. So we try to do the best we can.
It makes a difference. You know, I've noticed that you all have been doing this for a fair amount of time, and some of your coworkers that are on the air haven't been as much. And that's one thing that I noticed when I was working with you guys, that on holidays, the big holidays, you all work more.
Right.
You all cover other people's shifts. You let the younger folks, they're not always, but you know, a lot of the younger folks want to go home for the holidays.
And they're from out of state, Kim.
Yes.
You know, this is our home. So we know we're going to be under our Christmas tree. We know we might have to work a shift on, you know, the day of or the day before. But for, you know, these 23, 24-year-old reporters and anchors that are from Dallas, Portland, Oregon. I mean, we want to make sure that they get home to see their families for at least 2 or 3 days. So we'll cover a lot.
Yeah, and we don't mind it. We live locally. Our kids are older now, so
you know
they can handle things until we get back home. And
that's fantastic, though. It kind of works like a family in a lot of ways, with everyone having to count on everyone else and pick up slack sometimes.
You really want them indebted to you.
That's
is where we're coming from. So that when we hit them with the family, you know, week to 10-day vacation in July, you know, that we get nods of agreement.
Well, and you know, we've incorporated them into our shows too, with our High Family Adventures with the state parks.
We
were traveling a lot,
fun.
and we dragged the kids with us. You know, made it part of their curriculum at school too.
Wow, so they got some credit for that.
Yes, they did. They did.
That's fantastic.
They didn't get docked, I should say. You know,
I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay, because sometimes your all's schedule, as far as vacations, do not line up with Fayette County Public Schools.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And so, in order to take them with you, you do have to pull them out of school.
But the schools saw the value in it being an educational experience for the kids.
So do you test them? Do you give them quizzes? How does that work?
Doug tests them on history all the time.
Hey, kids, we're going to Gettysburg. Yay. I think it's a great vacation.
Yeah.
And actually, they enjoyed it. And so did you.
Yeah, we all did.
You all went in a little skeptically.
Yeah, we were. I was a little sketchy about the whole thing.
I think that's the benefit, though, of maybe having a historian on, or maybe a detriment sometimes on the family vacation. It's hard to say.
The initial rollout, Kim, is always difficult. We're going to the Henry Ford Museum. And yay. We get there and they're having a ball.
They do eventually. So they've learned to trust you guys. That's a good thing. That's great. Well, you all run such busy schedules, and your children are both teenagers, and Jack is a little beyond that now. So has that been difficult for them with you all? Having these kinds of schedules like that, because it's a different experience for kids.
It is. You know, we do. We take them on a lot of our adventures and a lot of these shoots that we do with the station, and you know, sometimes I think they do kind of like, oh gosh, I'd just like to stay home this weekend, and we're like, no, we're going to Gatlinburg, or we're going to Gettysburg, or wherever we're going, and sometimes they do kind of have that initial feeling like, oh, I just want to stay home, but you know what? All they would be doing is sitting in front of a TV, playing video games or on their phones, and we're like, nope. we're going.
It's good for
Let's
them
go.
to see you all as a working couple
Yes.
as well. I think
so,
that's
too.
important because,
Yeah.
on a vacation, my vacations when I was a kid, I'm an only child also, by the way, so there was very little structure. It was just a lot of winging it, you know?
Yeah.
Because we could, but this keeps them on a schedule too, so that vacations really can be a learning experience. And that's really cool too, because a lot of the places you go, we see pictures, we see on your shows what they're doing. And I think that's a pretty cool thing for a kid. Now, do they think it's cool to have parents who are broadcasters?
No.
Gosh, I don't think they pay any attention to it
I think
whatsoever.
they think it's a little unusual.
Doug, there was
Yeah,
at Comic-Con,
maybe.
I think it was last year, that you were at Comic-Con, both of you, the whole family actually, and you had some fans that wanted to take a picture of you. And I think your younger son had some thoughts about that.
He's like, why would they want to take a picture with you? And I'm like, well, they start their day with us. We're on their newscast.
Didn't you mention that Boba Fett was behind you and that was a much more...
They're like, why wouldn't they want a picture of Boba Fett instead? I'm like, well, that's a darn good question because there he is.
But you know what?
He's got a rocket pack. We do not. So,
But you know what? They keep it real for us. They keep us down to earth and grounded, They don't let
Absolutely.
us get too big for our britches.
I guess you couldn't when you've got teenagers
That's
in the
right.
house because as adults we can't do anything right for teenagers.
No, we
we
can't.
can't.
We're embarrassing.
Our range of emotion is very limited now too. Like if we start dancing to a song, they're like, please stop that.
Yeah.
That's
Please
a hard
stop
one.
that.
And
No more dancing.
Yeah. If we do it in front of the camera live or if we're on TV,
They want to crawl under
just
a rock and
nails
die.
down a chalkboard for those kids.
So we
Yeah.
have a very limited range of emotions now that they're 15 and 20.
I guess
The 15-year-old far more than the 20-year-old.
Yes, yeah.
Because he has to live with it in school, I guess.
Yes, he does.
I'm crying. I'm going to melt my eyelashes right off of my face here. Oh, my
Oh, don't do that. They look beautiful.
Well, thank you. It took a lot of time and a lot of glue. Doug, you had touched on something a little earlier in our conversation about how local news is changing. Can you and Lyssa talk to me a little bit about that?
Well, Kim, we've seen a lot of change in the years, last 10, 15 years especially, where, when I started in the very early 90s, if you went out to report on a story, you went with a videographer who was a professional camera operator. You had typically a field producer. You had an engineer running your live truck, right, to get the signal back. You came back and you work with an editor to edit the package together. But now all those jobs are gone. They're all consolidated into one person called a backpack journalist or a multimedia
I've heard
journalist.
those terms, yes.
So these reporters, these 22 and 23-year-olds coming out of school, they have to shoot, edit. They have to do everything on their own. You see them running around in, professional clothes, clopping around in heels, carrying tripods and cameras, and it's a whole different ballgame. And you really, really want to be in journalism if you can survive those first couple of years doing that. So it's a whole different way of telling a story. Whereas before, if I had a videographer, I had an award-winning videographer. I had someone who spent their entire career dedicated to framing. And now it's like, well, can you frame to a 20% proficiency? Can you get yourself in the frame? Hey, that's a win. Let's put it on television.
That's a lot to ask of a journalist.
So what's happened ultimately, I think, is that we've really lost our way. We're not telling as quality a story as we were 15 or 20 years ago as a result, because we've let all of these professional people, these artists, kind of, out of the building. And in their place, one 22 or 23-year-old going after the fastest story they can. Also, Kim, there's no more, hey, news director, I've got this great lead. Can I have a week to flesh it out? Can I have 10 days to go explore this on Eastern Kentucky? No. You can't, because we can't spare you.
Right.
So there's
It's all hands on deck.
Yeah, there's really an erosion of what newsrooms were capable of 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like the Wild West. It's like cowboys out there.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, it's sad to see. I hope that as the need for local becomes greater, because I do think there's a silver lining. I think sooner or later people are going to realize that if we're going to survive as an industry, we're going to have to be more local instead of less. And to do that, we're going to have to tell better stories, and we're going to have to get better at storytelling, kind of recapture those lost skill sets. So I hope we start moving in that direction. And I think big TV station groups that own 50, 60, 70 TV stations are starting to realize that. They're like, local's all we got. What if ABC and NBC and CBS decides to start charging us for the affiliation? There's a lot of stations that won't be able to afford that.
No.
Suddenly you'll be independent. And the only thing you'll have is local news.
Right.
So that's hopefully
local
what
advertisers,
we'll get
local
back to.
everything. Yeah.
I do hope that we see that swing again, because there's nothing more beautiful than watching a story unfold, watching a journalist tell a story
That's right.
about something in your very own
Yes.
community.
Yes.
I love that. And I want to see that more often. I want to see people being able to create their own art, because there is definitely an art to videography, especially news videography. Every type of videography has a niche
Yes.
and a different skill set.
Yes.
Doug and I used to work together in video production,
Yes.
and you know very well that's like commercials, documentaries, that kind of thing, and which is very different from the way that news is done. So I think a photographer has to have a bend for all of those different types of things.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. So hopefully we can get back there.
Yeah,
you know,
we hope so.
We've seen a lot of change though in this industry, and
Definitely.
we're in a weird place right now too, where social media is taking. You know, back in the 80s and 90s, local television had such a huge part of that pie,
Right.
And now we're having to share more slices of that pie.
with people who aren't professionals.
That's right.
Not
Right.
to knock down any content creators. I do some of that myself.
Right.
But there's training that goes along with what
That's
you
right.
all do. There is study. There is a lot of things that you all do that the average person who thinks that they can shoot something with their cell phone camera, that's not to say that that's not a creative, wonderful thing, but that's not necessarily reliable. That's when it comes down to the reliability. And that's why I still tune into my local station, so that I can see people who have been trained in this kind of process. And I do hope that we can get back to that.
Oh, I hope so too.
I hope so, too.
We're working
Yeah.
hard to stay there and to retain our real estate there. But
Yeah.
it's a challenge financially.
That's something that I want to see played out to its fullest potential, to get us back where we used to be, telling the best stories.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I agree.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic. Well, there's another topic that I want to do a little bit of a switch here. We're going to
Okay.
move a little bit away from news here. You all last weekend was Comic-Con, was the Lexington Toy and Comic Convention.
Yes,
Yes.
a show that just keeps getting bigger and bigger
Every year.
Oh
It's
my
huge.
gosh.
I was out there when I was working on the morning show covering that, and
Yes.
it was just so much different than when I went a decade
Right.
before. And you all were with a very special guest, someone, I don't know if that all of our collective viewers know, but you all have a very special relationship with William Shatner.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
It really is. And his wife, Elizabeth
Yes,
Shatner.
yes.
So
I've met both of them.
Yeah.
They're such wonderful
Yeah,
people.
they
Elizabeth
really
is
are.
just the sweetest.
Oh,
they're-
yes.
They're great
They're
people.
dear friends.
We've known them, socially now for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And we've been able to do some amazing things with them. Activities in New York City and Los Angeles. We went to their Hollywood Charity Horse Show in L.A. a couple of years ago.
Right.
We saw Bill on Broadway.
Oh, yes.
For his one-man show at least 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
And had dinner at Sardi's with them
Oh,
before
yes.
we went over. So, yeah, it's just being a child of the 70s, growing up on the orange shag carpet, watching him on Star Trek and being so
Yeah.
deeply influenced by that character, to then grow up and somehow have a friendship with him. That's amazing.
And it's a true friendship. I mean, it's when we're together, we do not talk about Star Trek. We
that's
don't
a
talk
rule,
about his
actually.
Really,
Yeah.
we don't talk about his movies.
Oh, wow.
And it's not like it's on purpose necessarily. It's not really even that. It's just we have other things in common,
Right.
and just we're so excited to see them, see what they're doing. They love what we
Yes.
do, and it's just been
Well,
an incredible friendship developed
And
between
it
us.
turns out, Kim, that William Shatner is far more interesting a person than James T. Kirk. I mean, he really is. He is one of the most
Oh, yes.
curious
Yeah.
and one of the most well-read people I've ever met.
Yes.
And he has a vetting process. The first couple of years, he put me through the ringer.
Well,
He had
in
to,
terms
you
of,
know?
who are you and why are you around me? And then once you get through that, though, he's one of the most generous and magnanimous individuals I've ever been around.
It was crazy. It was like watching two alpha males kind of circling each other, because your relationship was actually with Elizabeth, his wife.
I serve on her board. She has a nonprofit for equine therapy for veterans.
Yes.
And so she kept trying to introduce me to him, and he's like, why do I need to know this nobody from Kentucky? Was his
He had
vibe.
no interest at first, none. It was so funny, and then to watch it develop, the relationship between him and Doug, and the trust that was there, and the respect that was there, that was really quite eye-opening for me to watch from afar, and Doug has always thought the world of him, and just, now it's just even more so.
Well, and let me make this even weirder. I mean, I lost my dad a few years ago, and Bill really has kind of filled that void for me. I mean, he's a mentor. He's just, I just feel secure when we're in his presence. He's got the right answer, I mean, he's going to be 94 this week.
It's crazy.
94.
It really is. I've never met somebody that age that is so that dialed in. I mean, his mind is just on fire. He constantly has projects that he's working on. His driving ability. I mean, he drives. He's like a little bit of a crazy driver like me, but just kind of aggressive, but not too over the top.
I've been in the car with you, Lisa. You are a little bit of a crazy driver.
So you know what I'm talking about, Kim.
I do.
Well, we even talked about that with skiing styles, because we were telling them we took the family on a ski weekend. And Lisa, we haven't been on skis in 10 years, Kim. Lisa goes flying down the hill. I mean, skis
whether I knew what I was doing or not, it didn't matter.
I'm snowplowing on my way down, if I can stay up on the skis.
And he didn't stay up.
I did wipe out in spectacular fashion. But I mean, I'm far more cautious. Lisa's far more, hey, this looks like a cool hill. Let's try this out. I'm like, well, wait a second. Are we rated for this hill? Is this an immediate hill?
Let's just do it.
And she's like, I don't care. It looks fun. Let's go.
Doug's looking for the info sign. Lisa is already gone.
Right.
Yeah.
She's already down the hill, watching me come down the hill on my face.
I did. And I tried to warn him, too, because that first hill was a doozy.
Yeah,
and I turned around. I was like, no. And he had already started. And I was like, oh, here he goes.
Bill's the same way. He's a rock star skier, and he just gets, he just goes after sports the same way Lisa does. And I'm a little more, okay, let me, ease into this.
A little more
bit.
reserved. You're a little more like me that way.
Right.
Yeah. So, Doug, would you say you're more of an introvert?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm an introvert who plays an extrovert in my job, or I guess so. I mean,
that pretty much describes it.
I mean, introverts it's not that introverts can't be extroverted, but we have a tank of fuel.
Agreed.
And once you run that fuel down, you need a stop to reset.
Shut down.
And then extroverts seem to thrive. It's like an EV battery. The battery stays charged the more.
Because she's,
Yes, I walk into a group of people and I'm like, it like builds up my energy and everything. And for Doug, it can be quite the opposite.
Right.
And so we've had to learn through therapy, quite honestly. We've had to go through some marriage counseling at points in our marriage, and we're not ashamed of that.
No.
I think that's very healthy.
No.
It's very healthy.
But we have learned, that we have to appreciate each other for what we are, and to help each other when we're going into a situation that might make one of us feel uncomfortable, or it's not, like, for instance, if we go out some night to a bar, I want to go sing karaoke, let's say, because I do like to sing karaoke once in a great while. And I would, Doug and I would have to talk about it ahead of time. Okay, how long are we going to stay there? Right. Because when I go, my battery's getting charged up. I could stay all night.
First to arrive, last to leave.
Yeah. And Doug is like, no, I'm ready to go after an hour or 2 hours. And so we have to compromise. We have to talk about it and say, okay, we'll do this, and this, and that just makes it's built such a respect between us that we can do that.
I'm the life of the party if I'm walking into a party where I know everyone.
Yes, I think that's a lot
trust
of it.
everyone.
Yes, that's
But
huge
if
for
I
introverts.
walk into a space where I don't know anyone, I'm clawing to get out.
Yeah, he is.
I can't bear it.
Yeah.
And
It's
at
tough.
the end of a week of being sick of hearing the sound of my own voice on television, I can't even order a burger through the the thing. I'm like, I start hitting Lisa in the passenger side of the car. I'm like, just what I
He
want.
wants a
Just,
quarter pounder.
I don't want to speak right now.
With cheese, ketchup,
Shouting
lettuce.
across the driver's seat. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's well, Lisa, what is a situation that might be difficult for you as an extrovert?
I think having to leave when I'm ready to have a good time and he's
Right.
like, I'm tired, ready to go. You know what I mean? And it's
Right.
like, wait, I need to get out. He'd rather just sit home, watch a movie on TV, which I enjoy doing too. But there's times where my inner extrovert is just dying to get out and do something. And so he has to, I have to let him know, and he recognizes it now. And
Right.
so he'll accommodate me with that. But if he doesn't allow me to do that, I feel very trapped in the house.
Interesting.
Yeah, I feel like he's trying to hold me down or hold me
Right.
back.
And it's just like the skiing, Kim. I mean, what can I discover if I fly down this mountain? Whereas I'm like, look, we don't know these people. I don't see an intrinsic value here. I'm exhausted. I want to leave. I'm not comfortable. And she's like, you don't know who we're going to meet. You don't know, how this evening's going to evolve. I'm like, it's probably not going to evolve well. Is where I live.
That's his mindset.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I had to learn how to navigate with that and to work with that.
And to stay with him. I know as an
Yes.
introvert,
Oh, yeah.
I need that person with me to introduce me, to fill in the gaps in the
Yes.
conversation.
Yes.
And so that's
Yes.
another thing that you all
Yes.
have had to compromise on.
Wow.
Now,
Yes.
I myself, like Doug, am an introvert. I can be an extroverted introvert. But Lisa, one of my introverted friends said, one of my extroverted friends said, just because I'm an extrovert, that doesn't mean I want to be around people all the time.
That's
Yes.
right.
Does that apply to you as
Yes,
an extrovert as well?
It does, absolutely. But there are times where I can feel myself longing for that.
To be alone.
To be alone and also to be with other people. There's a balance there. And I can't explain it. Just as an
Right.
extrovert, I do know that, there are times where when we go out, I definitely want to stay for a while and
Right.
definitely need to stay for a while.
Right.
For whatever reason it may be, but yeah.
Well,
And
that's a
then-
beautiful thing that you all have to make those compromises, though, and work together
Well,
to help each other
That's
out.
the only way to make it.
Yeah.
It's the only way to make 28 years
Right,
of our marriage.
right.
Is trying to figure that out. But and then
that and
realizing
chocolate works well
Chocolate
too.
helps.
Yeah.
realizing that we're benefiting, from each other too. I mean, Lisa's brought me out of my shell so much more,
Right.
and hopefully, I've given her more of a piece of downtime, quiet time,
quiet time,
so-
and
we-
sunsets. I enjoy. He's a. I don't know how many people know this, but Doug is a fantastic photographer. Just casual photographer. He just knows how
He
to
is
get those
good.
shots, and he will always stop and pause and take a picture. And he's like, "Look at that sunset! Isn't that beautiful?" And it's like it slows me down because I'm always like,
Sure.
"Gotta go, gotta go do this, gotta go." And it forces me to pause and take a moment to enjoy the little things in life like that, and that end up being an amazing
Couple
moment.
goals.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's amazing what we can learn from each other.
But there's work getting there, and that's where people, get tripped up. I think they're like, "Oh, this isn't what I'm looking for." I'm
Right,
like,
and
well,
that's where therapy comes in,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I think it is one of the best, smartest thing that
Oh, yeah.
strong people do
Yes.
for their marriages, to
Oh, yes.
learn how each other works, because there's no way we can know that on our own. We need help
That's
Yeah.
right.
to do that, and I think therapy is a wonderful thing we learn about ourselves.
Right.
Well, speaking of learning things, it's almost time to wrap up this podcast.
Oh, my.
I
Okay.
know, time flies, but we have come to my favorite part of the show called 10 Things. You all, these are 10 things that I ask my guests to learn a little bit more about them
Okay.
on a personal level. So you're each going to get these. And by the way, Doug and Lisa, you're my first guests. The guests where I've had two people at the table at the same
Really?
time. So this is
Really?
very exciting.
Honored.
And hopefully I'm not making this harder on my editor. But let's get started with our 10 things. Thing
All right.
number 1, fiction or nonfiction? Lisa.
Nonfiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, depends on my mood. I mean, I love to read history, but I also love a good Stephen King novel. So
You're complicated.
Yeah.
I am complicated. Yeah.
Well, in honor of the Lexington Public Library, which is where we are, I like to ask this question because the library offers all three of these things: physical books, e-reader, or audiobooks. Lisa,
Physical books.
Physical.
Yep.
Both of you.
Gotta have it. Yeah.
Every guest that I've had has said the same
Yes.
thing. I love me an e-reader because I
Yeah.
can carry around 20 books at the same time because
Right.
I can't make any decisions.
Right.
But there's something about a physical book.
I love my
There is.
collection of
Feel,
books.
the smell.
Yeah.
I don't want
and
to
it
give
makes
that
a
up.
difference.
And I feel like we're looking at screens all the time. We're looking at
See,
computer
yep.
screens,
Screen break.
teleprompters,
Yep.
iPads and all of that.
You're right.
And it's just nice. It's like almost a relaxing moment for our eyes.
For sure.
Does that sound crazy?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I know how this might go, but maybe not. Number 3, date night alone or with other couples?
Oh, wow. Gosh.
Couples, I know.
Yes.
I'm all in.
Yes.
All in.
Yes. I actually like an alone date night. I
Okay.
really do.
I did not necessarily expect these answers.
Interesting,
but
right?
it's very
It's kind of
interesting.
backward,
I
isn't it?
Yeah, it
But-
is, but
but
I'm
yeah.
down with it. This is
No,
yeah.
and I'd like my friends. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we always have great date
Right,
nights,
right.
group nights, with friends and stuff like that.
I love this.
And if I have a good solo date night with you, it allows me to, break into a group, a
Right.
couple's date
Yes,
Right.
night.
The ba-
exactly.
Achieving
Yes.
balance. There
Yep,
we go.
yep.
Number 4, burger or pizza?
Pizza.
Pizza.
Burger.
Oh,
Really?
yes,
I'm
that
a
doesn't surprise
carnivore.
me.
What about
Yeah.
a cheeseburger pizza?
Ooh,
Could that work?
That sounds really
That's a good compromise. Very nice. That saves the marriage right there, Kim.
Okay. Well, just call me brilliant. Okay. So this applies to feeling comfortable at home.
Okay.
Dressier or casual?
Casual for me.
Casual.
for
Casual
sure.
at home.
Yeah.
Casual
The,
hanging
the
out.
older I've gotten, the more casual. I
Less
want to be.
cute, more casual.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah,
yes.
Especially when we're in suits and dresses
All
all
day.
for
Yeah.
work.
High heels,
Yeah.
the
Right,
whole
so-
bit. So.
Can't get out of these fast enough.
loving the
really.
sweatpants.
And when people see us out in public, I mean, I am very casual. Doug will be kind of semi-casual. I'll
You're
be
snazzy.
totally in casual, no makeup, ball cap, the whole bit, And I'm always surprised when people recognize me too, because I really, without
You're
makeup,
hard in this.
That's If
And
I,
what does that mean, Mr. High?
Name's
Wait a minute.
Bombshell alert.
Totally,
Oh,
totally.
that's
Yeah,
so
I get
sweet.
unrecognized in public. When we were doing Let's Talk Kentucky, I went out once with no makeup on and like sweatsuit on, and someone said, "No, you're not Kim Dixon, are you?" I said, "Yeah, I am." "No, you don't, she doesn't look like that." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not Kim Dixon." And pretty much dropped my cart and ran out of the store, cried in the car. But,
No.
it is what it is. But this is number 6: vacation, beach, mountains, or a new city.
Beach.
Beach.
Yep.
New city, I think, especially for some history to be
Of course.
gleaned from it.
Of course, that makes sense. Yeah.
And then
Yum,
mountain
yum.
would probably be number 2. Beach,
Gotcha.
I get antsy on a beach. I'm like, okay, it's been 10 minutes. Everybody have enough sun? Okay, let's move on. Let's learn
He
something.
really does.
Yeah.
That's
And
something
poor Lisa
we're
wants
still
a beach
working on
vacation
that.
every year.
As our marriage,
wants
we're
one, yeah.
still working on that.
Still
one.
working on the
Yeah,
vacation
yeah.
We
part.
are.
Find
Yeah.
a beach near a city, maybe the beach of Chicago, maybe.
Right, right.
The
St.
lakeside beach.
St. Augustine actually fit
That
the
can
bill
work.
for all of that.
Yeah, that did.
There was history in
There
a
was,
beach.
yeah.
Nice. Ultimate vacation package. Okay, so your favorite city outside of the central Kentucky region?
Oh gosh! Wow, so many great cities too.
I like a small town too,
Yeah.
but I mean, I love Boston. I love all the East Coast action. Providence, Rhode Island, Newport, Rhode
Yeah.
Island.
I loved LA. I loved going back. I lived there
That's
for
right. You
about a
lived-
year, just over a year when I first graduated from college. And so I love going back and seeing, the Pacific Coast Highway and just
It's
all of it.
gorgeous.
It's
It
just
is beautiful.
It's
out there.
beautiful.
For sure.
Fantastic. Okay, moving on. We've got 2 people from Ohio sitting right in front of me.
Two Buckeyes.
So, okay, Cleveland or Cincy?
Oh, Cleveland for sure. For me.
Cincinnati, no doubt. No doubt.
This makes for a house divided at
Yes.
least
Yes.
once a year.
Painfully, it is Cleveland.
And you know
I
what?
love Cleveland
But
Browns.
guess what they have in common? They
What?
both have great identity. Like growing
do.
up in the 70s,
Yeah. They do.
Cincinnati was, Cincinnati chili, Conn's hot dogs, Kenner toys. I mean, there was a vibe to Cincinnati, and the same for Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crickets.
Oh, you got the Got the
The
Browns.
flats. We had the flats. That was really fun.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of turned, and I don't know what it's doing
And
now.
you could set the lake on fire for a few years.
That's
and
true.
They've cleaned it up.
There was
It's all good now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was flammable at one
was
point.
Hey, the
flammable.
Ohio River was set on fire one time too. So
That's true.
Yeah.
And the Chicago River, I believe, was on
Yes.
fire.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah, there's
so
lots of
let's keep it real.
fiery
Flammable
rivers.
cities or
Doug, that's what
lakes.
I
Yeah.
want. I want some research on that. Some
We'll look into
flammable
that.
lakes,
Yes.
and I want to take the
We'll look
flammable
into
lake
that.
global tour someday.
Yes.
I think that sounds
I think
like a
they
good
cleaned
idea.
that up. But go Browns anyway.
Go Browns and go
Yeah.
Bengals.
Go
Yes.
Cats! Come on now,
I
it's
know.
tournament time.
That's
Go
right.
That
Cats.
we agree on.
Well, we've been Kentuckians for 26 years.
Oh
now.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
So
now
we are
we're
fully-
all
we're all
bleeding
in.
blue, the whole bit.
Oh, yeah.
We love our cats. So
Very
For sure.
exciting
Oh.
season. It's been a
Oh,
great
it has
one.
been.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, we're coming to see the light at the tunnel here. At the end of the tunnel, your favorite color?
I like red. I
Navy
do.
blue.
Nice.
Navy blue.
You both look good in the respective colors too. By
Oh,
the way,
thank
yeah,
you.
I've seen both of you. I don't think I've ever seen you in a red suit.
No,
I
no red
don't
suit.
know
No.
that I would ever need to see that.
Yeah, that's not
got
not a mainline suit for
got a game
for
show
dude.
host thing
Yeah.
going on. not
Steve
so
Harvey,
much.
maybe
Steve
you can
Harvey
borrow one
might.
of his
He can pull that
suits.
off.
Yeah.
That'd be
he
a
could.
that'd be a
Steve
tight one
Harvey
for
could.
me.
Yeah.
You're not Steve Harvey.
I'm
No
not Steve
offense, you're
Harvey.
no Steve
No,
Harvey.
absolutely
but,
not.
Doug High equals not Steve Harvey.
That's right.
So
Doug Harvey.
our last one here. All of us have been on the air at one point interviewing people. And all of us also like to eat food.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So, preferred breath freshening method, gum or mints?
You know what? Mints. I'm more into that.
You're a mint girl.
Doug is definitely a gum
I've been
guy.
a Wrigley's product man for a long time.
We
Big
were both
Red.
a product of Wrigley
Yes,
at one point.
we're both part of the Wrigley family, extended family.
Wrigley Media
so-
Group. That's right.
Yes.
Well, that was a very interesting 10 things. A lot of things that I did not expect to hear from you guys. Well, you all have kids to pick up. I
Yes, we
believe
do.
so.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, Doug, Lisa, thank you all so much
Aw.
for joining me
Kim,
today.
Thank you,
always
This
Kim.
has been
pleasure.
the most fun. I'm so excited that I got to have you all on here and share a little stuff that maybe some people didn't know about you too.
Kim, 30 years from now, any ask you have, we will come running.
Yes, we will.
We are Kim Dixon
We
fans.
are devoted to
through
you.
and through.
I love that. So you all are the sweetest.
Well,
I am so
we
lucky
love
to be
you.
able to call you guys friends.
Aw, we love you so much.
It's a pleasure. It really is. It's a gift. Yep.
It is.
Thank you for joining me, and I can't wait to have you all on as guests again. We'll talk about some more fun stuff sometime in the
Exciting.
future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let me know your thoughts. Send a voicemail or text at 859-444-4524 or find me on Instagram and Facebook at Kim Dixon Media. Thank you and have a great day. Special thanks to the digital studio of the Northside branch of the Lexington Public Library, featuring computers with a full Adobe suite, a sound-treated audio booth, and a fully loaded production studio. The digital studio is perfect for beginners all the way through advanced production professionals. Check out their classes too at lexpublib.org. Out There with Kim is made possible with production support from Dynamics Productions. Dynamics Productions is an audio production facility in Lexington, Kentucky. Dynamics helps people and businesses communicate by crafting soundtracks for TV and radio, videos, advertising, podcasts, audiobooks, and more on the web at dxaudio.com. Y'all, thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye now.